Exactly 2 minutes gone past 12 o'clock. Thank you for joining us at this time. You are watching news analysis live on Politics and Business TV. The top stories. In the spirit of Christmas, President Bola Tinubu approves zero fare for train transportation beginning from today. Senate President Godswill Akpabio swears in Simon Lalong as senator representing Plateau South Senatorial District. House of Representatives set up committee to look into discrepancies in the remittances of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board. Details coming up shortly. Right, welcome back. I am Omohefe Peace Osemere. Now, in the spirit of Christmas and the end of year festivities, President Bola Tinubu has directed a 50% cut in land transportation fares from today, December 21st, to January 4th, 2024 across the country. The president also approved zero fare for train transportation in all the states of the Federation within the same period. Minister of Solid Minerals Development and Chairman of Interministerial Committee on Presidential Intervention, Dele Alake, disclosed this while briefing State House correspondents at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Alake said all the logistics on the implementation had been worked out with the Minister of Transportation, the transport unions and luxury bus owners. A report has it that luxury buses have 22 designated routes for the interstate transportation. Now, President Bola Tinubu has asked the Senate to screen and confirm 11 justices shortlisted for the Supreme Court bench. Tinubu's request was contained in a letter read by the Senate President Godswill Akpabio during a plenary yesterday. The recommendation of 11 nominees was done by the National Judicial Council. The 11 candidates, which were shortlisted from 22 Court of Appeal justices, were screened by the NJC, headed by the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwola. In the meantime, the Senate President Godswill Akpabio has sworn in Simon Lalong as the senator representing Plateau South Senatorial District. The former governor of Plateau State, Lalong replaces Napoleon Bali of the People's Democratic Party, whose election was nullified by the Court of Appeal in Abuja on November 7, 2023. The court declared that Lalong was the valid winner of the February 25 senatorial poll. It would be recorded that Simon Lalong, who was a member of President Bola Tinubu's cabinet, formally resigned on Tuesday as Minister of Labour, Employment and Productivity to take up the senatorial slot. You're watching news analysis live on Politics and Business TV. Still to come. JAMB Registrar Professor Issa Koleyede appears before the House Committee on Basic Education and Examination Bodies. Details of this and more after the break. Welcome back. This is News Analysis live on Politics and Business Television. Now, in view of the non-reconciliation discovered in the books of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board and the account of the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, the House of Representatives is setting up a committee to look into discrepancies in the remittances of the examination body into the coffers of the federal government. JAMB Registrar Professor Issa Koleyede, who appeared before the House Committee on Basic Education and Examination Bodies yesterday, said the examination body has started remitting revenue to the Consolidated Revenue Fund less than a year after he assumed office. According to him, JAMB had in 2017 remitted the sum of 7.8 billion and followed it up with 5.2 billion, 3.68 billion naira, 3.82 billion naira, 3.5 billion naira and 3.1 billion naira in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021 and 2022 respectively. Olede further told the lawmakers that JAMB under his stewardship generated internal revenue of 13.33 billion naira, 11.35 billion naira, 9.74 billion naira and 12.62 billion naira in 2019, 2020, 2021 and 2022 respectively. However, a discrepancy of 11 million naira was established with the submission of Lucy Enam, who represented the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, a development which prompted the chairman of the committee, Afoji Obuku, to call for a subcommittee to look into the alleged differences and report back to the Committee on Basic Education. Moving on now to other matters, the National Assembly Joint Committee on Appropriations has assured that the postponed national census will be conducted in the first quarter of 2024. Chairman of the Committee on Appropriations, Adiola Olamilekon, gave the assurance on Tuesday when the Senate Committee on National Population Commission submitted its report of budget defense for the 2024 fiscal year to the Appropriations Committee. According to Premium Times newspaper, a review of the proposed budget presented by President Bola Tinubu for the 2024 fiscal year showed that there was no line in the budget of the Ministry of Budget and National Planning for the conduct of the national census. But Mr. Olamilekon, the senator representing Ogun West, pledged adequate financial allocation support for the Nigeria Population Commission (NPC) to conduct the head count next year. He assured that the NPC will be accommodated and get an allocation in the budget to conduct the census. Now, while the senator urged concerned authorities in the NPC to appear before it and present requirements for the conduct of the census, Abdul Ningi, who is chairman of the Senate Committee on National Population Commission, complained that the NPC had spent over 200 billion for the planning of the census before it was postponed. Abdul Ningi explained that the country will lose the financial resources already committed to organizing the national census if the NPC is not allowed to continue with the exercise. Now let's analyze to what extent the federal government can deliver a credible population and housing census come 2024. Salihu Mahmoud Tata is a public affairs analyst and he joins us live to critically analyze this subject matter. Right. Of course, for the records, census was initially scheduled for May 3rd to 7th this year before it was postponed. Also, recognizing that at the time, a total of 869 billion naira was needed for the census, while the government committed 291.5 billion to it, was the need for an additional 327.2 billion naira. Now, with the latest development of, the chairman of the Committee on Appropriations, Adiola Olamilekon, assuring that, for next year, there is no provision for the census, which is bid for the first quarter of next year. One would wonder, the impact it will have. Well, I have my guest in the studios already. Salihu, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Right. Let's start the conversation this way because a number of Nigerians have been wondering, since the population census that was bid for early this year was postponed, what happened to the monies that, of course, we heard in the news the government had actually budgeted for, the exercise?
Well, the total money budgeted and appropriated for the population census initially, before it was told, was 800 billion. And out of the 800 billion, the Population Commission had already spent 200 billion. But the questions we ask is, this 200 billion were spent for what? Because one, outside the numbering of homes and maybe procurement of logistics, maybe like vehicles, their upkeep and some stipends and other things, we cannot physically see what the MPC expanded the 200 billion for. Because when you're talking about 200 billion, it's not 200 million, it's 200 billion.
Right.
This 200 billion, were it to be for feeder roads, you know how many villages it are connected. Were it to be for rural electrification, you will have known how much it will, how many drugs will have been gotten. Were it to be for maybe schools in villages also, and what have you. So the issues are, as it stands now, no provision for the 2024 population census. I think the Senate committee need to do a lot to also ask them more questions they need to answer by way of telling Nigerians the 200 billion naira spent for what? Because till now
the exercise didn't hold. It didn't take place.
So that is the issue. So if we continue to say, okay, they refuse to allocate funds for them, that the population census ought to commence first quarter of next year, that is not even an issue. There has to be accountability regarding the 200 billion spent for now, because it appears even the trips they were supposed to make, we've not seen where there were helicopters chartered to go to places like Gembu, Mambila, and some areas that are inaccessible, and some mountain area, or maybe Goma and Adama and other areas. So these are the questions they need to answer. Then the Senate Committee Chairman Abdul Ningi is saying this and that. I think it should be more of accountability than advocacy for appropriation of funds. The ones they got this year, let them tell us what they use it for.
You know, before May this year, of course, we understand that the census was earlier scheduled for May 3rd to 7th. And prior to that time, there were concerns that, you know, the census exercise will be postponed because of, you know, funding. Funding actually was an excuse, should I say excuse, but it was actually a factor or reason that some analysts had actually said, no, this census might not, you know, hold, or it might not take place. But now, 200 billion naira, and apparently there's nothing to show for it. But now that we're planning ahead, instead of, you know, making a storm in a teacup over already spilled milk, don't you think it would be in the interest of the nation that some sort of money is, you know, budgeted for the conduct of the exercise early next year?
Well, we just have to look at the gains of the population census if we must talk about that. This is a country where we knew the population census carried out during Babangida administration under late Musa Shehu Makamannope, who was chairman then. So I think that was the census we can say in the 90s that Nigerians really knew there was census then, also during Obasanjo administration, if I'm not mistaken. So, and I think after that, I don't think any census or so whatsoever had been carried out in Nigeria. Supposing the census figures are used for development, Nigerians will have come in mass, irrespective of tribe and religion, to support it. But this is a situation where even after carrying out of the census, you find out that places that certain developmental strides are supposed to take place, they don't, because it's matter of interest. For example, we have...
What do you mean by matter of interest?
Matter of interest now, my senator is fighting for my senatorial district, your own senator is fighting for his senator. So why must anyone wait? Maybe the outcome of the census is what? No, Nigerian system is not like that. Foreign countries, they use outcome of population census to develop their places. But in Nigeria, reverse is the case, and that is why a lot of us are skeptical and jittery. So I think they need to do more than a lot, because for now the problems we are facing goes beyond just population census. Look at poverty, look at hunger, look at deprivation from healthcare, feeder roads, major roads, to education, to human capacity. There are a lot of problems, from the removal of fuel subsidy. Nigerians, majority of Nigerians now feed from hand to mouth. Even the palliatives that the government has made provisions for, how many people have gotten it? So if you are talking about census now, to the lower people, to even middle class people, they will see as if it's going to be another avenue you want to create for some people to become millionaires and billionaires overnight. You know, there is cat and mouse relationship in the system.
No, well, that speaks volumes, right? That is your opinion. But you know, if you say the census exercise shouldn't, you know, top the priority list of the government at this point in time, you'd also say that no, that shouldn't be the case, because when it comes to palliatives and how it should be distributed, we've had issues with, you know, data collection in the country. Okay, how many poor households do we have in Nigeria? When it comes to data, there is really, you know, an issue to deal with in that regard. So having the census exercise, one would say, is very, very important.
Well,
because if we do not even know our numbers in the first place in the country, how best do you think the government would want to address issues of poverty, unemployment, and the likes?
I don't think population census is the only remedy to knowing our numbers, or what are the existence of traditional rulers, what are the existence of the local government creation. There are other agencies that also exist. You see, part of the major problems we are facing in Nigeria is accurate data. Let me even give you an example of the road traffic, that it is managed by VIOs as well as road safety and even the police. Ask them today to give you accurate data of carnages on our roads, of number of vehicles that are registered. Are you getting my point? In motor vehicle administration channels and what have you, or police, the accident that happened, the MTDs, the record, is very difficult. These are even security agencies. Talk more of MPC. MPC as it stands now is devoid of some technicalities, up-to-date logistics to be able to meet up. Even the kind of skeletal exercise they did, they had itches because there were certain areas in this country they were unable to get to, because they also needed the assistance of certain agencies like the Nigerian Air Force to use their jet or police helicopter and also others. Then for riverine areas, they need assistance of like Nigeria Inland Waterways or Shippers Council or Marine Police and also others. So there are a lot that if we are to say. So for you to be able to even arrive at accurate census, you ought to have done your homework very well. Before now, the MPC as a system, as a parastatal, should tell me what are the modalities in place to be able to ensure accurate census numbering in 2024. I tell you, they might not be able to answer us 40%. You see, sometimes when we talk from informed background. I will give credit to them that most of the commissioners, the director general, the chairman, others, they put in their effort. But right now, even with insecurity in some northeastern part of the country, northwestern part, and also others, how will MPC penetrate the bandit riding areas of Niger, Zamfara, Katsina, Sokoto, Kebbi, and of recent, Taraba, then the insurgent riding areas of Borno, Yobe, and some part of Adamawa State.
So are you saying that when the government comes out to tell us that security has improved, you know, to some extent in the country, that is just, you know, some sort of political statement?
No, I wouldn't completely say it's political statement.
Okay.
To the best of my knowledge,
yeah.
I think from the last administration to this, they are putting in some effort, arithmetical efforts, but it hasn't, you know, gotten to geometrical. Is now arithmetical, if I might rate it, because like we normally emphasize, insecurity is not peculiar to Nigeria alone.
Right.
There are other parts of the country that they are not even enjoying. Look at Somalia. For long, they've not been able to have security. Syria, Libya of recent, Sudan. South Sudan is also having its own part of it. Chad, some parts are also. So we are even grateful in Nigeria is insurgency and banditry, and to the best of my knowledge, the combined effort of the military, police, DSS, and other security is gathering momentum. We also, as the populace, need to avail them with certain intelligence information. So let us give them the credit, because you know most of these security agents too, they have blood running in their body. So
right.
we cannot say completely that there is insecurity totally. No.
Okay. So with over 200 billion naira, you know, already spent for, you know, the planning of the census that, you know, was postponed, you know, there were hopes and also some level of optimism, you know, amongst Nigerians that perhaps with this, you know, humongous amount of money, there will be some sort of, you know, major changes here and there. Because if you cite, you know, examples with areas that are, you know, ravaged by insecurity, of course, we have people who are internally displaced. Of course, they also have to be counted. But one would have thought that that amount of money, you know, would be able to address all of those concerns. Why not that this, you know, exercise was postponed?
Well, you see, these are some of the problems we face. Like the MPC, for instance. Don't forget, they have collaborations. They also give some things on consultancy. And like numbering of these houses, it warrants their own staffs, volunteers and outsiders. They had to make provision to pay for their services. But even at that, when we are to jettison it, you see that 200 billion, that is budget of one small country in Africa. How much is the budgetary allocation of countries like Gambia, Senegal? 200 billion. FA is not small money. So the issue in the spirit of fight against corruption, we are not saying that the chairman, commissioners and what have you embezzled. You don't know. It is very possible somewhere, maybe even before the money got out of the federal government treasury, there were certain, even though it remains an allegation, let it just come out. Maybe there are certain things they did, or maybe at the lobby level of it, 200 billion to say that not even particular local governments succeeded in being counted is something we need to put question mark, especially at this time that we are facing scarce resources. Even the president, Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu, has been saying no money, no money. There are federal government workers that it took up to 2 months last time before they got their payment. So at this point in time, we need to prioritize important things that can add to human living, because in our system now, it has become system of pity, where many homes are living from water to gari, kuli granite. That is if we even get that. So the issues are that 200 billion was much money that was spent without even 20 local government getting counted. They did skeletal exercise.
Okay, so for you, we need explanations as to what happened to this money.
In this era of accountability.
All right, for the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who said accurate information on the size, characteristics, and distribution of the nation's population is imperative both for planning and for the effective delivery of public services to Nigerians. He went further to say that Nigeria's population remains the greatest asset, it wields in the broader mission to become one of the largest economies in the world. So indeed, the population, census, it is very, very important. I mean, we need to know our numbers, because oftentimes we say in a country of over 200 million or at least 200 million. So we're not even sure. But for the president to have said this, what does this tell you? Is this a pointer to the fact that we may have to borrow, if need be, to conduct this exercise?
You see, is the president and commander-in-chief. He's in charge. Whether good or bad, he must justify it, because he's the president and commander-in-chief. What we see, the president doesn't see. He works with information. He has emissaries. He has people as ministers, DGs, MD, chairmen, and most of others. They brief him. But we, the laymen, we move. For example, now, if I leave your studio here, when I'm moving, I'll be able to tell Mr. President what happened in Wuse Market, how the traffic worked, how this was this and that. But the president relies on either the DG, IG, his ADC, his chief detailers, what have you. So sometimes when our elder statesmen, like him who was two-term governor, national leader of a party before destiny beckoned on him, we say, let us give him that. But for him to hear the facts and reality of the matter, it is from studios like this and people like us, because we move around. You see, even when the money is given for the census to be conducted, I want to assure you, it is not still going to bring our accurate numbers. And I've given you instances and examples.
Why do we have to question the integrity of figures or numbers in the country?
There are places where people have left their homes. Some are in IDP camps. Some cannot even be found. Are you getting my point? So in some northwestern part of the country, some northeastern part of the country, then even in some southeastern part of the country, how do you cover up with that? Where people are displaced, they've left their homes, their towns, because of insecurity. How do you get that? So no matter what you do, you're still going to get shorted. That is why we want a further postponement. It will go a long way. 2024 still cannot get accurate number of Nigerians. And as Mr. President said, it helps you to get development, what have you. You see, with due respect to Nigerian population, American population is a blessing. Indian population is a blessing. Unfortunately, because of lack of utilization of our own population, it has become a cost.
Well, I saw a report yesterday that the economy, I mean, the population has been stagnating the economy. And then some, you know, analysts that I had a conversation with, of course, off the mic and camera, they said, no, that shouldn't be the case. But, you know, it is really unfortunate if we have a situation whereby the population is now a curse, as opposed to being a blessing.
No human capacity building. After giving birth, no social security. The president should tell me whether there is introduction of social security in his government.
Well,
and any country devoid of social security is bound to remain the way we are. Until they bring social security, then our population will be a blessing, because there and then, as a father, as a mother, you care about how your children survive.
In a yes or no response, because we are out of time, do you see further postponement of this exercise?
I advocate and advise that they should further postpone the population census. 2024 first quarter is still not ripe. I cannot give birth to accuracy in our population figures.
Right, what a way to end the conversation. Thank you so much for your time and analysis. Salihu Mahmoud Dantata is a public affairs analyst, and we've been discussing, you know, how best the federal government can deliver, you know, credible population and housing census come 2024. In his words, he's advocating for, you know, further postponement of the exercise, because according to him, the first quarter of 2024 is not realistic. Now, Nigeria's population is estimated, you know, at more than 200 million, and the UN expects that the figure actually will double by 2050. That would make Nigeria the world's third most populous country, behind China and India, overtaking the United States. Well, if we have the population, one would say that the economy should grow rapidly. What a way to end the conversation. We must leave it here because of time. Thank you so much for watching. I am Omoefe Osemere, and don't forget you can follow us across social media platforms at PNB TV. Good afternoon.